A long time ago, in the early days of Europe, when the continent itself was covered in glaciers, and there was just a little strip of land that was habitable, where the temperature wasn't too extreme, where there were enough animals that people could go out into the cold and make their way in life. We developed strategies for adapting to change, because eventually those glaciers began to recede, and as they receded, everything was different in the world. We had new rivers, we had new plant species that were emerging, old ones that we used to know and were familiar with were going away. Same thing with animal species. And we had to learn how to very quickly adapt to this changing environment, not very different from the way that we have to adapt to things changing in the world around us today. And so the people back then, just as intelligent as us, developed a transformational pathway. They developed strategies for making sense of the world, for making sense of themselves and their role within it, and then how to change and how to adapt and how to grow. And they encoded that change strategy within the symbols that we know as runes. We know now that the oldest runic symbols, they came from the coast of the Iberian Peninsula in Portugal. That's where the oldest ones that we have found yet today are residing. Now, over time, they migrated, found their way to the east, found their way to the Scandinavian north. They became encoded into the Viking runes that we know today. And they still carry that same power within them, that same transfer knowledge that we needed to make sure that we passed on to future generations so that they would have those same adaptive strategies to change that we had. We had to teach it to our kids to make sure that when we were gone, there would be a path that they could follow that could help them to survive and thrive in the world. And that's what the book 24 Runes to Live By examines. It looks at the runes not as a divination tool, not as a series of discrete symbols. It looks at them as a pathway that makes sense of the physical world, the social energetic world, and then also the world of consciousness and spirit, the world of the shaman. And it follows through the trajectory there, and that trajectory mirrors the hero's journey. It's 3 individual hero's journeys. The hero's journey, if you're not familiar, is the work of Joseph Campbell, and how story works, the storyline of the hero who is able to find a challenge, be challenged, to transform himself by meeting that challenge, and then emerge with something of value for himself and the world around himself, and he gets rewarded in that process. And that process, we see it in the movies around us. Star Wars is a classic example, but almost any story you can imagine follows that arc of the hero's journey. Same thing happens in the transformation path of the runes. So this video series I'm going to do here, we're going to cover that transformational series of the runes, and we might even delve into a little bit of my take on the hero's journey itself. So I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm just going to go through page by page for it. So there's going to be a video per page. So if you're interested in following that journey, like, subscribe, make sure you follow this page, this channel, so that you get that information, you get that knowledge, because it's going to be really good.